Hey there. We're going to be working on some fig trees today. This is a fig tree that I actually tried to air layer about 3 years ago. Actually, I took it off about 3 years ago, and so about 18 months prior to that, I set on the air layer. And when I did take it off, unfortunately, it did not set roots on the air layer. So I separated it from the parent plant anyway and set it in this pot. And here we are now, 3 years after that. I've got a living tree. Now, I've not seen the roots. I haven't seen anything come out of the bottom here to tell if I actually have roots on the trunk. But the tree is alive, so it could have set roots on some of these lower branches. I have 1 or 2 branches that was lower on the trunk, and that could be what is sustaining the tree. But at any rate, we'll see when I take it out of this pot and begin to do whatever work on it that I think is necessary at that time. Over here also I have 3 fig trees that I've been working on for some time. 2 are former air layers or rooted cuttings, and then 1 is an air layer. And we're going to take a look at a few other things, because we'll be using power tools to do this with, as well as other tools. And so right now, what we'll do is take a look around and talk about a few things, then we'll come back to this. I'm not feeling really well today. I've got a headache. I feel a little feverish. But you know what? I'm a real trooper. We're going to power through this thing. So come on, plug in with me, and let's get this thing done. All right. What we have here is an electric chainsaw and a power chainsaw, gas that is. We've got an assortment of hand tools. I've got my hunter's knife, and on the back of that is actually a saw that cutting can be done with that. I've got an assortment of wire and various tools, and then various power equipment, lopping shear, and got a measuring device there if I need it. I've got my working platform. I'm going to use that cart and this board to sit on that to stabilize things. At any rate, this tree and that tree are actually rooted cuttings, and they were much larger than that as far as height goes, or length, but I reduced them to this, and I'm going to start carving out this area here to see what I can come up with, and I'll clean these cut areas out. This taller tree back here, I'll be cleaning up that apex area, and we'll see what we can get out of that. And I've already staged my soil and the planting bin for this large fig tree. If it is worth me putting in this, I will. If not, I'll put it back in that blue container. And after everything is said and done, if none of that works, I can always torch it. There you have it right there. So what we're going to do is take a look at some carving work that I've done already. And right here is a trident maple that I've been growing for some years now. I didn't like the triple trunk arrangement on that, so I cut that off a few days ago, took the electric chainsaw and rough carved the different areas right here. Okay, so I'll be coming back with my roto-zip tool and doing some fine carving on that. And you can see this area here. You see how wide that is right there? From the viewing angle, it just did not work, but this is much better. And as a matter of fact, at one point I was thinking about cutting this tree down to a little 18-inch stump, cutting this back, but this works for me right here. So I took it out of the pot, cleaned the roots, lowered it in the pot, and new soil, and there we have it. This tree right here, I did pretty much just the root cleaning and thinning out, cutting it back. I lowered it in its pot, and over here on this side you see the sphagnum moss. This root is higher up on the trunk than this side, but it's necessary. So what I did was cut the root back, set it in soil, covered it up with the sphagnum moss to keep it moist, and hopefully here soon I'll have some new roots on that end and everything is good. Boom, Bob's my uncle. That little tree right there was found in this pot, rooted. That's a Japanese green maple from one of the trees around here. And so from here on out, that tree will be attached to this trident maple. Just something I do. But anyway, let's go around here and I will show you the parent plant of that big fig tree. I didn't pick up my pointing stick, but this should do. All right, there we have it right there. That right there is about 36 inches tall to the main trunk at the point that's living where that branch is. And so, and I have an assortment of branches. You can see how I cut that out with my saw. I've taken rooted pieces out of here, different places. And so if I get around to it this year, I'll carve this out while it's still sitting here, and I'll either leave it here to heal or I'll dig it up, pot it, and let it heal in the pot. Also, that's a fig tanuki. Check out the burling on that wood. That is basically the heart of a piece of pine wood that, you know, it's full of the resin from the pine tree, so it's pretty stable. There's a few areas that's a little punky that I'll clean out. I'll come back in here and take out whatever dead wood that's there. Anything that can be saved to enhance the feature, I'll leave and just carve on it. And I'll get it all lime sulfured up and boom, Bob's my uncle. But that's been sitting here in this pot for probably 4 years now. I mean, the whole affair is a little bit older, and you know, I've just let it sit there to grow. I've got an assortment of fig trees around, you know, different sizes, configurations, including the fig tree right here in the ground. There's another fig tree in the pot right here. But at any rate, we're going to go ahead and try to get this other deal done. Here's a fig tree right here in that green pot. It's a twin trunk sitting at an angle, and it's okay. How about that ligustrum? I don't know. It's something. Well, at any rate, let's see what we can get done. Alrighty, so again, The equipment is set up, and hopefully we'll get this on video. So hopefully you can hear me. I know you can't see me in there because I've got this pretty close so that you can see what's going on here. But this trunk in one direction is 10 inches, and then in the other direction it's about 8 inches. So it's about a 10 by 8. One thing about your work, you should always try to get your area staged or prepped before you begin, so that your bare-rooted plant isn't just hanging out any longer than it needs to be. And that way your work can progress a lot quicker if you have everything ready. One second. Okay, so here we go. There's a good amount of roots in here. I don't know where they come from or what they look like, but we'll find all of that out here. Some of my favorite working tools. There's various sticks that I find around here. Wow! Must be a cup tree. There's no telling what you might find in the soil today. But anyway, the roots are looking pretty good. Lots of roots in here. Like I said, I can't tell at this point where they originate from, but they're substantial, and obviously the tree is surviving. So now with that, I'm satisfied that there are plenty of roots here. I'm not going to take this completely down, But what I'll do is, in other words, I wasn't going to carve on this if these roots weren't substantial enough in this pot. I like what I see as far as the roots go. And so I'm going to stop right here, do some carving, see what I've got, and then go from that point. So, normally, if I knew what was here, I would not have taken this out. Well, I may have had to cut this pot down or stabilize this plant somewhere else before beginning to carve on it. But now that I'm sure that I've got enough roots that, you know, it's worth my time and effort to carve on it now, that's what I'll do. And then I'll take care of the rest of it. So, it's going to kind of be in this configuration where an apex, either this or this as an apex, branches out here. All right, so we're good to go. All righty. Hold that thought. It's not rocket science, but a little bit of safety and precaution, a little bit of thought helps. When I did that cutting right there, I was actually assessing how stable that was going to be for me. This wood on the outer edges is pretty substantial, so the tree is going to buck and kick around, so I have to stabilize this. All right. It'll move a little bit, but it's not going too far. At any rate, we got something going here. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm stabilizing that with my leg, both legs, to supplement my arms and whatnot. And I'm being careful not to let this really get to the apex of that and really dig in. That's hard work. And so, now, for this, I won't need the gas-powered saw, which is much more powerful than this thing. That's relatively clean. I can take my small equipment, you know, my grinder with the proper head on it, work on that. The roto drill, I can take smaller equipment and cut these off, but that's the main thing right there. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and sit this in its container, and we'll go from that point. I want to trip over this string, so out of the way it goes. What? Stronger than dirt. That must be Ajax. This soil is just pretty much dirt, organic material. So there's no fine feeder roots in this. So I'm not going to really cut this down much. This is a man-sized tree. Too bad I'm a boy-sized man. All right. This tree is somewhat like I suspected, that these shoots low down on the trunk actually put out roots, but there are a few root sections on here. So that's on the main trunk right here. So I do actually have structural roots rather than shoot roots. So at the bottom of this trunk, there are roots here, there's roots here, and roots coming out of this. I won't cut these others off yet, and who knows how long it's going to take, but it's going to take some time for these other roots to progress to the point where yeah, there's lots of roots there. So you know what? I'm going to take this off. No glory, you must not have had any guts. Another little shoot there, but there are roots emanating from that nodule, which is low enough on the trunk. There's probably 4 inches to the base of that. That's what I was just checking there. There are roots down here. So the tree is good, so I'm good. And so, I figured after I did everything and I didn't like it, I could always burn it up. But looks like I get to avoid that today. It's not rocket science, but a little preparation, a little forethought, and it can all go pretty smoothly. Just have to be careful of what you're doing with your power tools and your sharps and such like that. But other than that, we're pretty good. So, and at some point I'll get back in here and consider the branch selections, what I want to keep, what I want to take away. Also, in this case, what I keep makes a difference of what lives and what dies. You can see damage here. This is exposed wood, that's exposed wood, and this bark is still alive along here. And so this branch has a strip of live tissue coming down this way. That's empty and dead right in here. But right there, that's alive, and then there's some on that side. So I'll have to make a decision. Do I want all that to be dead wood? But once I decide the final position of this, the angle, and then I'll make a determination of what branches I take off. If the branch is cut and it's below the soil surface, it's likely to put on roots as it continues to grow. So I'll consider that also in making my choices of position and selection. But anyway, that's about, I think, I know it's in excess of 10 inches. I measured it, and I think it was verging on 14 inches across before, but at any rate, that's kind of it right there for that. Mycorrhizome is a good thing to put in this also at this time. I forgot. Simple as that. So now, I'll be working on these. These were rooted cuttings a number of years ago. That was a rooted cutting. I just stuck it in the ground. As a matter of fact, right out here behind me is where I put it in the ground. Just kept it moist, and it was probably 3 or 4 times taller than that, and I cut it down to the length I wanted. This was in the ground next to it. It was much taller. Matter of fact, this branch was the long extended branch. And I've had these probably 9 years now. And they put on figs, no issues beyond that. Again, I'm going to take my equipment, carve this out, work on this, work on that. But that's all I can do now. I'm busted up. I'm done. All right. See ya.